right. Welcome, everybody, back to Coffee for Closers. I'm here with Jeff Tallarino from the marketing world here at Megastar Advisors. You guys might know him as the guy setting up all your workshops. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So we're talking all about the Learning Lab program, the Fed program, but in regards to live events. And, you know, things right now are a little bit wonky, right? We're in this world of COVID-19.
Right.
And almost maybe coming out of it. I don't want to say coming out of it, but we're getting close to that.
Relaxing a little bit.
Relaxing. Like things are easing off a little bit. We're back in office here at Megastar, which is fantastic. We're back here making videos for you guys out there. But, you know, hey, listen, have you seen anybody doing live events other than what we've done, right? Like, so we're doing some stuff, and we'll get to that. We'll talk about what we're doing right now.
Like competitors? Stuff
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
I mean, just from what I've talked to with advisors, you know, said they've done some events, but, you know, not getting any registrations for them at this point. You know? Sure.
So it's been pretty much webinars.
Yes.
Almost everybody.
Because
I know we've had a bunch of people coming over to Megastar since this whole COVID-19 thing hit. And some are doing webinars and they weren't working. And now they're joining the Megastar ranks, hoping that our webinar stuff was working. Obviously, the Fed stuff has been working quite well. The Learning Lab has been flat dead. And something happened with the consumer, right? Something happened where the consumer just shut down. But here's what we noticed, okay? So in all of the creative meetings, and you've been in them, talking with our entire team, we've seen that consumers haven't left completely because the market takes this huge dump, 37% loss, and the market, I guess people have to have been worried about what's going on with their retirement. But when we market those things, people aren't converting to want to watch anything. Right? So here's where we are right now. We send an advertisement out that says, you know, COVID-19 had some drastic effects on the market. You know, if you'd like to find out more about your options on how to continue on your retirement track or make sure that you still retire on time, whatever the suggestion's been, we're getting a lot of traffic to the landing page. We have been for months now, since the very beginning. In fact, it increased almost twofold.
Just strange to me.
Right. It increased twice as much from when we did workshops in the past, right? Like, so normal Learning Lab workshop would have X amount of landing page views.
Right.
And then in the middle of the quarantine, we'd have 2X.
Right.
Almost 3X landing page views for one of our workshops or webinars at this point, right? So it shifted from pre-COVID-19, we were doing the seminars, obviously, but now we're doing these webinars. These webinars are getting more traffic to the landing page and almost virtually no signups. And so our creative team sits there, and what did we want to do? We wanted to start doing basically tweaking the landing page in a way, because if you're getting all that traffic to the landing page and there's no conversion, there's got to be something wrong. Is it the form? Is it the way the page looks? What's scaring them away? And no matter what we did, no matter how many comparables, both in our industry and out, completely bunk.
Flat.
Right?
Yeah. I think people are, at some point, they were just scared about their health, right? I mean, I think that trumped their financial situation, you know? It
did for a little bit. But what we found as we continued on, and you know this to be true now, you know this to be true now, we didn't know this before, but these folks are not bailing on finance altogether. They're still very worried about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Just as much as their health, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. But what they're doing is they're flocking to things that feel familial. They're familial companies, right?
Right.
So when I
known
talk
brands,
right? They're going to brands that they recognize, especially if they're going to be forced to make a decision online.
Right.
They want some sort of credibility, some sort of backing. Right. And so we've seen advisors be successful during this time because it's not the captive channels. John Hancock, the New York Life guys, the the bankers for big banks. I mean, my friends, my college buddies from Raymond James and Edward Jones are working around. They're not struggling.
Right.
In fact, they're like, wow, I'm having some of the best months of my life. I am out there. I'm just killing it, right? And I'm sitting here looking at the independent channels. I'm like, what is going on, right? And then it hit me. It hit us, right? They're wanting familial brands. And so while things are starting to tick back, and we're going to talk about live events being back because they are, right? And that's great. Great to see. We've got a couple of examples of that.
Yeah.
Albeit you're at social distancing world, so you're not talking about numbers that we were seeing before, just not because people don't want it, but because you can't physically do it. Legally can't do it.
Right.
But what we're seeing is now that we've gone through this pandemic and why federal was so good, because if you're watching this, you may or may not be in the Fed program, but the Fed program has been doing really, really well. And that has a lot to do with the fact that FIBA, the brand we've created in the Fed market, is a familial brand to those federal employees.
Right. They've seen it.
They've seen it. They've been to our workshops. It's been around for 6-7 years now.
Right.
The Learning Lab is still building that up. And it's got a longer way to go because it's going to the entire public. And there's so many like Dave Ramsey shows and and things you can watch on from a finance perspective, right? But we're talking about going forward, we need to make sure that we have a subscribership that mimics the Fed program for Learning Lab.
Right.
And so what you're going to see as an advisor working in the Learning Lab program going forward is an opportunity to create content constantly. So content like this, videos, be on a show. We're going to start a live radio show, which will allow call-ins from consumers. We're going to start building this Learning Lab brand on the heels. We're going to continue doing all the workshops, of course, and every advisor will be able to do that. But what we're going to be doing here internally is building the brand to be a monster, a real familial brand.
Yeah.
And that'll be our dedication throughout this year, next year, and the years to come to continue to build this brand to be as big as it possibly can.
Right.
Because we've got a network of nationally recognized advisors, people that know what they're talking about when it comes to finance, and we're going to preach it from the mountaintops. Okay? So that's that. Let's talk about live workshops because they're back, right? Like, what do we need to tell the advisors right now? You're doing one right now in North Carolina.
Right.
And we won't say his name, obviously.
Yeah.
But Mr. North Carolina is doing a workshop for how many people?
The most that he can have in there is 10.
Okay, and what are the rules? What do they need to do?
They need to, obviously, it's like one couple per table. The tables are spaced, I believe it's more than 6 feet apart.
Wow.
They have to provide masks. They have to provide hand sanitizer. So
what does an advisor do? They go buy it at a store? Or?
They do. Now, this particular venue, I believe, provides it for you. So
okay.
It's pretty good,
What kind of venue was it?
It's a museum.
It's a museum?
Yeah.
I mean...
Oh, wait, no. This one's this is a co-working center.
A what?
Like a co-working center. Like,
okay.
So it's, definitely like meeting rooms and just like a event room where they can meet with people, and then they have working spaces where you share with other advisors.
Okay, all right.
So it's not,
We're going to have to get a little wonky, though, like with where we're going to do these workshops, because a lot of like the typical places that we would go, community colleges, they're not open.
Not yet.
They're not going to open probably until the fall.
Right.
And then you've got your hotel conference rooms that are willing to do that, but that's never been a really good spot to do a Learning Lab workshop.
Right. It doesn't really fit the
brand.
The brand.
Yeah. Libraries are being very cautious, obviously, with the exchange of books and a lot of touching. And, I don't see libraries being a really good option for people yet. I think you're right. We're going to look at, I think that was the right move there.
Go outside the box.
Because we had tried one here in Florida just before that, like 2 weeks prior, and it was a total bust, and it was at a hotel conference room.
Right.
But what happened
nice
there?
hotel.
Do we have a thought on what happened there?
I just think it was too soon.
It really was, actually. Now that you mention it, it was really soon.
You know,
we really tried, like, so folks watching, we tried to do this workshop in Florida, just outside the outskirts of Tampa Bay, where Megastar's home office is. And we did it at the Grand Hyatt, very nice hotel right here in the Bay Area. Right. Actually, no, it was south. It wasn't the Tampa Bay area one. It was the Sarasota. So Sarasota area one. And while the hotel did everything they could to make sure this was good and everything was kosher on the up and up, again, it doesn't fit the brand. It was probably started advertising a day after the governor started to lift some of those restrictions.
Right.
We were surprised the hotel even would take it.
Right.
And so that pops off. We end up doing this workshop for like 3 people, I think it was. Two people. And, I mean, the advisor would, take what I can get, kind of thing. Right. But, and one of those actually ended up being a good case, right? Like he said, had some big opportunity, 600,000 or something like that. That's pretty awesome.
There, so that's cool. Yeah.
But let's talk about this 2 weeks removed from that. We're in North Carolina, and boom.
Yeah, and it's kind of all coming in all at once, right? I mean,
because this is what's happening. You're going to see, you saw that fall off a cliff, go into quarantine moment, right? Things shut down. All the events slowly trickled away. Not slowly, immediately trickled away. We were surprised some of them were still going. Yeah. And then the day before the event, they cut us off.
Right.
Then
also we were waiting for them to.
We were kind of waiting for it, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see that similar. I think it'll be a V-shaped curve here, where you're going to see things as they lift up. The attendance rates will exponentially jump back in.
Yes,
especially in your states in the South, like North Carolina, South Carolina, that never really shut down as much as other states, like in hot spots like North Carolina or New York or New Jersey and those areas.
Right.
So it's going to be like that, folks. But the good news is these live workshops are coming back. So if you live in an area that you think you could do a live event, I want you to get in touch with Jeff. What do they need to do? They need to call into you?
Yeah.
And what? What are you going to do? You're going to walk them through everything as far as getting masks and hand sanitizer and help them set up the event, maybe get creative, find a location, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The first thing I do, I'd contact the location.
Yeah.
And just see what their rules are, their parameters are for the workshops, how many they can have, that's important. So, if they're going to provide the protective gear, equipment, sanitizer and stuff like that, and just figure out what we have to do. So if we can, if we have to get that, then at least we know that that's the avenue we have to take.
Right. And if not, what we can do, like if you've got some time, there's obviously still going to be folks that may come to this event that still want virtual training. We're still doing virtual training here. We will continue to do that. A ton of advisors fell in love with that. You and your team can help with that.
Yes.
Your team also is helping folks do webinars if they want to do webinars, right? That's still an option, albeit an expensive one, folks. Listen. Getting people onto a webinar is half the battle, right? And we need to create this familial feel for folks, like we said before. In order to do that, you really need to, I would almost suggest holding on webinars for private sector. If you are in need of appointments, if you are sitting out there and you are drowning and you need a lifeline, you give us a call and we have some creative solutions that can help you, whether it's in the Fed market, state employee market, targeting specific niches, because that's where you're going to be able to create a familial feel without having to do all the branding. But again, like I said in the beginning here, we're starting on that mission, and it's going to be this cataclysmic event where we're going to end up being the powerhouse. Nobody in our industry is doing anything like this. That's something that I learned throughout this whole thing. Everybody seems to be trailing the Megastar train. including our partners at brokers and advisors excels and all of these different areas across the country. They're all looking at our I mean, we've caught them all on our landing pages. I mean, how funny is that?
Right.
They're looking at our stuff, trying to figure out what is Megastar going to do next, because we've kind of been that spur of innovation for the industry.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the more stuff we see that's getting copied, I guess
It's really funny.
we're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're sniffing around that area. We're very, very close. We know for a fact that we figured out this brand recognition issue, and we're working to fix that. We've got some exciting new things. We do have a calculator coming out that's going to be really exciting. A calculator that pushes. It's basically a Facebook ad that will push you to a landing page where basically it's promoting 9 questions to know where you are in your retirement picture.
Give you a snapshot, maybe a
snapshot.
Little crystal ball type.
You get this report though. This report is just it's kind of it's a little bit confusing and vague at the same time, and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? If you want some help unpacking this report, you're gonna get in touch with your local Learning Lab representative, and you click that link and it goes through. Some people just want something silly like that they can click through, maybe try and figure it out on their own in this virtual world, and then when they realize I need some help with this, that's when they're more willing. So there's that side of things, which is really exciting. We'll get you guys all some data on that as soon as we have it. The other side of this is the new Social Security webinar video kind of pseudo thing that Cam McCarty has been working on up in Des Moines. We've got a really interesting landing page idea that we're trying on that. We'll keep you guys all up to date. We'll do another Coffee for Closers episode, keeping you up to date each and every week. Now that we're back in the office, this is way easier. Welcome for everybody watching to the new recording studio. We are going to be doing this a lot more, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. Jeff, is there any parting wisdom that you want to give to the folks out there?
Oh, it's just, just keep track of how the company or the country is opening up. The more
your state, right?
Yeah, the more the country's opening up, the more people are be willing to get out and just build your pipeline that way.
That's right. Thanks everybody for watching here on Coffee for Closers. I'm Alex Wellings. That's Jeff Tallarino. Give us a shout here. We're here to help in any way, shape, or form we can. We'll see you next time, next week on Coffee for Closers.